Hi, Instagram. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Good morning, Sharon. Good morning, Calix2. Good morning, XVXXI. Good morning, Caramel. Let's see. Today is really a frequently asked question live, so I will be answering your questions. So feel free to start asking your questions. If this is your first time, let me know where you're tuning in from, so I can give you a shout out. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney, and I represent clients all over the United States and internationally with their immigration matters. You know, we handle humanitarian-based cases, VAWA, U visas, T visas. We also handle marriage, green cards, conditional removals, naturalization, fiancé visa, consular processing, and the works. Good morning, Obscure from Michigan. I am in Atlanta, but we also have an office in Orlando. But again, we represent clients all over. If you would like to schedule a consultation, call us 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp message to 404-333-8751. Fosa said, "Good morning, ma'am. You look very beautiful in person." Thank you so much. I guess maybe I met you. Did I meet you? But I appreciate it. Good morning, Boo for the Blue Les. You're in Atlanta. Welcome. You know, the weather has been awful, but, hopefully it gets better. All right, let me just jump right into questions and see what you'll have questions about. YouTube and Facebook, feel free to put in your questions. I'm going to answer them if I can get to all of them. Let me start with Instagram. I saw a question I wanted to answer. Georgia, first time, welcome. So what form do I submit for my green card through marriage? Well, the answer will depend on what your spouse is. So if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, are you an overstay or not an overstay? Depending on that, the forms might differ. You might be doing consular processing or you might be doing adjustment of status. The general universal form, of course, you're going to submit your I-130, which is the petition for alien relative. Well, if you're consular processing, you're not going to do a 485, and if you are doing an adjustment of status, you're going to submit a 485 amongst all the other forms that you do send. Good morning, Lee Kimon from Jamaica. How I would love to be in Jamaica right now with the weather here. Like, it'll be nice to get away. So Caramel Passion said, is only one form needed to be completed when filing for removal of condition? Well, when you're filing for removal of condition, the form that you're submitting is your I-751 if you're not working with an attorney. But outside of the form, with the conditional removal, it's really important that you have everything else that shows that you have a bona fide marriage and that you and your spouse are still, obviously in your marriage. Now, if you're asking for waivers, due to divorce or hardship or extreme cruelty or death, then that's different. Oh, and shout out to my client who got approved for her conditional green card removal based on abuse this morning without an interview. Yes. Okay, so let's see. Oh, someone said put the phone numbers. Let me put our phone numbers and pin it. So guys, just give me a second because as you know, I can't type numbers and talk at the same time or send a WhatsApp. But feel free to put in your question. How is everyone getting ready for the holidays? I am very, 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 very exhausted, guys. I have had a beyond busy December. For some reason, I get a lot of interviews in December. November, December, so we've had back-to-back interviews. I mean, Thankfully, outcomes have been great, but it's a lot. My daughter has a final exam. This is her first big final, so it's like going back to school again, like helping her study for science and math and language arts and world culture. So, and then of course doing my work. So very tired. So somebody says, I got an RFE for an form I-864. What are some of the evidence they're looking for? Without seeing your RFE, I can't tell you because I don't know what exactly they asked you. So I have to see your RFE to tell you what they're looking for. So you can schedule a consult, okay? Okay. Let's see what other questions we have here. Naima on Facebook says, my VAWA has been pending for 24 months now. Is that normal? That's okay. Most VAWA cases can take from 2 years to 30 months. So 24 months to 30 months, I would say is the average. So you're certainly within the window. So it could be, any day now where you could be in that window of approval. So just be patient and hopefully you hear something, either this month or next month. But you're certainly within the normal process and time. And typically, if you're within normal process and time, even if you send an inquiry, USCIS will say, well, you're within normal process and time. So you just need to be patient and, wait. Somebody also on YouTube says, how long does one have to wait to expedite one have to wait for expedite EAD via VAWA to be approved? I don't know. There's no rule. There's no timeline because it's discretionary. The USCIS has to make a decision that you qualify for an expedite. For some people, in a matter of weeks. For other people, a month. Other people, 2 months. Other people, nothing at all. It just takes normal time. So it's different for everyone. So we can really give you a timeline. Keisha says, good morning, Aisha, you're the best. Thank you so much, Keisha. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, thank you, Gotcha 9090 for buying a badge. I don't even know what that means. Tyler said we should go live on TikTok one day. Tyler, if you know me personally, you know how much I hate TikTok. I really hate TikTok, guys, really do. But everyone on TikTok tells me, come on live. And I do go on sometimes, but the problem is, in order for me to go live on TikTok, I can't go live on Instagram. So, just because the way it works is you have to go live on your phone for Instagram and TikTok, and I use my computer for like YouTube and Facebook. So I haven't yet found a way to do all 4 of them at the same time. If any of you know, definitely give me some suggestions, DM me some suggestions, and then I will. But honestly, I rarely actually go on TikTok personally. Nelkanadine says, how long after submitting your RFE are you supposed to hear back from them? Sometimes you're not going to hear from them, sometimes, depending on what kind of case it is, sometimes you just get like a notification on like your portal, like, if your USCIS account team received your RFE response, but other times you may not get that. But them not sending that doesn't mean that they haven't received your RFE. As long as you're submitting your request for evidence answers with proof of shipping and proof that it was delivered. I can't stress that enough. Like when people call and say, I never got a receipt, I never, I don't know if they got my stuff, it's been several months, or I sent a money order. So, especially because when you send a money order, you're not going to know whether they've cashed your money order or not. So it's really important that, you make sure that you get proof that your stuff was delivered, so that you can have that as evidence if USCIS says, oh, we never got this, to say, well, here's the proof that I did send it and somebody in this office received it. Okay. If you don't get a prima facie determination letter, does it mean you don't qualify for VAWA? Most likely, yes. So typically, A prima facie is like a preliminary pre-approval. So it's basically a determination where they're saying that you're eligible to be classified as a valid victim, but now we're going to basically go through your application with a fine-tooth comb. A prima facie is the first sign that they're basically acknowledging your claims in your statement and saying, okay, you have a case here, let's review it and see. But if you don't get one, then there's something missing from the standards of a valid application that you're missing, which essentially means you can't qualify because you have to pass and check mark all the standards to be able to. So, so I would be concerned if you've not yet received your prima facie. But then I don't know how long ago you put in your petition. Sometimes USCIS can also be delayed in sending the prima facie. Ladanan says, what is the timeline now that you're seeing with work permits being issued? We're definitely seeing it move back to a little bit of normalcy where, before it's like 9 months, 10 months. Now we're seeing more of like between 4 to 6 months. Most people are falling in that window and hopefully it continues that way. And we're definitely seeing at least 30% of people falling even earlier than the 4-month mark. But again, the average and when you can do an inquiry will be within the 4 to 8 months window. But I would say that majority of the people we're seeing now, they're getting it in like 4 to 6 months. Let me just drink something. Somebody on YouTube says, okay, let me start from the first question. Hi, good morning. Lucky to catch you live today. On I-765 based on pending I-485, what's the current estimated wait time that you see from previously filed case? Okay, well, I just answered your question. And your second question is, and also how long do you think the I-360 will take if it was filed this month? Also, does EAD application C9 qualify for fee-based expediting? So the first part of your question is normally, and I said this earlier, so it's earlier in this live, takes 24 to 30 months. I won't go much into details on it again. Once this live is finished, you can just go back and read it, and then you see what I said, or listen to what I mean. Okay, so someone says, this is a very good question. Peter says, when is the correct time to renew the conditions when you have a 2-year conditional green card? So as long as you're filing with your spouse and there are no issues with you and your spouse, you can do it from 90 days from the expiration date on your 2-year green card. If you're not filing with your spouse and you're filing on the basis of divorce, death, or extreme cruelty, then you can file it much earlier. There's no amount of time that's too early. And then also you can file it later. With a divorce, you just want to, obviously the reason why you submitted it late, but generally that's fine to file it later. Okay. What do you think if I haven't received a work permit and it's a year since September and my prima facie has been renewed 2 times? First thing I would want to know is what kind of work permit did you apply for? Did you have an adjustment of status attached to it? Those things will help me to be able to assess, whether or not you should have received your work permit. All right, let's see what we have in the question box. How long is the wait for Nigerian spouse interview? A long time. Very annoying. It's taken a little bit. But I'd say generally when you're consular processing, consular processing is if you're processing your case outside of the US from start to finish. A good timeline to give yourself is 24 months. If things end up earlier, then great. But I think it helps, with expectations. Getting married on Friday, how long should I wait to file? Congrats. You can file as early or as late as you want. Just make sure that when you're filing that you have, of course, your marriage certificate, proof of entry into the US, and proof that you have a real marriage and a bona fide marriage. Remember, your marriage certificate is not proof of a bona fide marriage. It's just saying basically we're married legally, but we want to know that your marriage is a real marriage that was not entered into for immigration purposes. Okay. So Emmy Lash said, "You missed my question!" Exclamation! 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 Yeah, just a point for you guys online. I get so many questions. Sometimes I don't see a question. Not that you're entitled to an answer, because it's not like you're paying me to come on live here and give you answers. I'm doing this out of the benevolence of my heart. So, it pays to be humble, and just wait your turn for your question to be asked, because I'm trying to go through everybody's question, okay? All right. So Rich Booty says, do you normally receive a work permit before your interview, or is it after? Majority of the times you're gonna get a work permit before your interview. However, there's sometimes in your interview, and this I'm only speaking for marriage-based cases. However, there are going to be some times with some clients who your interview is going to go really quickly, where you won't even have time to have an interview. Like, I remember we had this marriage case that was approved in 4 months. So there was no time for the for the EAD. They just went, they got approved, and then they got a 2-year green card. So sometimes that can happen. The majority of the time, you'll get your work permit before your interview. And then sometimes you get your work permit, like you have your interview today, tomorrow you get your work permit while they're working on your case. So just all depends. So Lily Me says, I'm curious too. I think I answered that question. Fafabi says, can I still travel on parole even if I've requested for more, even if I have an evidence of request from more evidence from USCIS? Yes, you still can travel as long as you don't have any removal proceedings, or you don't have this is not post interview. And your case is not an abeyance case. The request for evidence is just asking for evidence, doesn't stop you from going where you're going to or where you're not. And typically, right now, if you get an RFE, they're still applying the COVID extension. So you get the 87 days plus 60 days. So that's what, 147 days to respond to it. So, you can travel. But anybody traveling, you always want to make sure that you still take your pending I-485, your approved I-765. Please do not travel like when your I-765 is like expiring like the next month or something like that. It's just too risky, and you could risk being abandoning your application. So you want to travel when you still have a lot of time on it. And generally, if you've had your interview and they have not made a decision on your case, I personally do not recommend traveling. Everybody is different and everyone strategically does things differently. The other category of people that I don't recommend traveling to is, and I specifically actually want to talk about this, is if you filed for VAWA and you're an abeyance client, meaning that you already had a pending marriage case, right? And then you're like, okay, this is my spouse is being abusive. I'm going to file for VAWA, but I'm going to hold that case in abeyance. I don't recommend traveling unless you have received an RFE saying, provide us your filing receipt, and you've provided your filing receipt, and then you know that they're holding your case truly in abeyance. Because sometimes, service center may not connect with field office. And so depending on where your case is, you could get a denial and you'll be out of the country when you get a denial and you're stuck. So in those cases, until we have that solidified, I don't recommend traveling, okay? I found an I-134 spouse, and on the online page started showing a timeline that started from 4 months and reducing each month. How accurate is this time? I'm not sure I understand the question, Suleiman. Okay. Everybody says, good morning. I have a friend that filed for VAWA. Now her husband wants to file their marriage-based petition. Is that going to be a problem? She's not going to withdraw the VAWA case. Well, I mean, it's obviously up to her. That you can have two I-485 pending. You can have different cases pending for immigration, except with the I-485, they can only approve one. They can only approve one I-485. Generally, if you're a VAWA client, you've already, or if you're a VAWA applicant, and you've already submitted the VAWA, I generally don't recommend, as you guys know, to withdraw it. He or she needs to find a way to deal with their spouse, or even if they file the 485, they most likely will just reject. Well, they won't reject it, but once that one is approved, they'll see you've received your benefits through other means or something like that. So, um, yeah, just because, if you have that vow pending, and the person's like, oh, let's work things out, and they withdraw the vow application, which already takes a long time, and then you file with that person, and the person decides, you know what, I'm withdrawing the petition, and then you're back to square one again, filing the vow. So I've always said, and I will always say, you should always work from a place of strength, and never allow anybody else to have power over the decisions that concern your life. Um, so for a lot of immigrants who are in that situation, their spouses use the fact that they have the ability to petition for them as a tool of blackmail and a tool of power, and control over them. So, I mean, you can simply just say, don't, it's okay, you don't need to file for me, whatever, figure out what you want to say, but that's just my stance on it. Okay. Ever Blessed, another Ever Blessed on YouTube says, good morning. It's been a year now since I filed for a C9 category work permit through VAWA. Should I be worried I haven't received it? Well, I mean, I don't necessarily know that word is the word that I'll use, but you definitely want to do a status inquiry just to see why you haven't received it, because a year is definitely a long time. And I hope that you submitted a 485 with it. Cleopatra says, good morning, my beautiful attorney. Love the way your hair looks today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have a pending I-751. How long do you think it will take me to be called for the interview when I file for my N-400? I don't know. For some people, it's quick, like 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. For other people, it's 10 to 12 months. So could be, So Schwaben says, do you have to go for an interview for a VAWA case? This is a very good question, and I know this confuses people a lot. So this is one that I want to explain right now. So the question is, do you have to go for an interview for a VAWA case? So let me explain getting a green card through VAWA. Getting a green card through VAWA includes 2 approvals. The first one is the actual VAWA approval. Once your VAWA is approved, then you will be that initial approval for the VAWA portion only. You don't require an interview. There's no interview generally for that. Once that is approved, okay, you will then be scheduled for a green card interview, where the focus of the interview would be your I-485 form and the answers to those questions, and making sure that there's nothing in your record or history that makes you inadmissible from getting a green card to the US. So you cannot get to that stage unless you have a VAWA approval, okay? That is one route. And then for other VAWA survivors who have been approved of VAWA, sometimes they will get bypassed for an interview and just be sent their green card, so they would say, they'll send you an RFE, say, send your medical, and then they will approve them for their green card. So that is kind of the life cycle of VAWA and getting your 10-year green card. So hopefully that clears some, things up for you. Okay, I can only take one more question, and then I gotta jump off. Nordwig says, if your VAWA is approved, does that mean an I-485 will be approved? The answer is really, it depends. It's truly a case-by-case basis, and the issues that particular person has in their immigration history. So like somebody could have, I'm trying to think of an easy example that would help you understand. Like, so if, let's say your VAWA was approved, but you don't, what can I use as a ground? Or and then you have an inadmissibility ground of misrepresentation. Maybe, when you first came into the country, like, you came with someone's passport, or, something basically that misrepresented yourself for an immigration benefit. So you don't automatically get a green card, even though your VAWA is approved. Most likely, instead, you need a waiver. right? So you're going to need a waiver showing hardship to yourself so that USCIS can forgive you for misrepresentation, right? And if they give you the waiver, then you will be approved for your green card. And the reason I said it's hard to say is because um, each case is different. Because sometimes, somebody could even come to me and I'll say, okay, there's a potential misrepresentation issue here, but it's very arguable that it's not. So let us present our VAWA with your own explanation and wait to see if you need a waiver. So sometimes somebody will come and say, listen, I did this, I did that. It's like, you know what? Let's just send the waiver and just apply for everything together. Sometimes I'm like, no, we're not going to admit something that it's not clear that is misrepresentation, that you misrepresented. Let us wait and see what USCIS says. So, it really depends. But if you don't have those issues, generally, you don't have a lot of stuff going on in your immigration. This is your first petition, there's more likely than not. Okay, and then another thing, so another example of misrepresentation is let's say you filed a fraudulent asylum claim, and so there's just so many things. But if your case is just a typical valid case, you've not really filed any other petitions before, this is what happened to you, your valid got approved, and you're most likely going to get your 485 approved in situations like that. Barring anything or whatever. Okay, guys, I enjoyed chit-chatting with y'all. I got to jump off, but I will talk to you guys. I don't think I'm going to be on live this week. I don't think I have it in my schedule. It has been crazy, guys. I do miss coming on lives, but sometimes, work calls, I'm super busy, so I can't get on live as often as I want. If not, I'll see y'all next week. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.